everybody, Ben Cotton here from The Captain's Coffee at thecaptainscoffee.com. We're going to do a quick demo of the Genie Cafe home roaster machine, and it is a fantastic roaster. It's really our flagship roaster. It's the one that I like the most. I think it's fantastic. Really heavy-duty components, very serviceable. You can actually repair this roaster. You can get parts for it. It is a really nice batch size, just enough, at least for my family, to roast enough coffee for the entire week. The exhaust muffler, I call it a muffler here, is nice. It's Chaff Collector also right built into that right into here. All the chaff gets collected here. You can dump it right out into the trash can. It's really convenient with no mess. You can put a small dryer vent hose on this here, vent the smoke out of your house really nicely, or up into a range vent. So there's a lot of things about this roaster that I really like, especially the amount of control you have. It really allows you to do just about any roast profile you want. And so let's just take a look first at the front panel, and then I'll show you how to roast with it. It's pretty simple. First you have time right here, which is the blue knob, and you can rotate this either way to increase the time, which you see right there on the left in green. And you can do this on the fly anytime during your roast, so you have complete control. Press the button to turn the roaster on and off, pretty simple. Nice large buttons, easy to use. And then over here on the left, the red knob is your temperature knob. Increase that, increases the temperature on your readout right there. Same thing down, you can do this anytime during the roast. And press it to start the roast or to enter the cool cycle. Other thing is, if you want to do an emergency stop, which again, if you don't want to use the cooling cycle built into the roaster, you just want to dump the beans into a colander and cool them yourselves, you can do that by just pressing this and holding it for a few seconds, and it will force the roaster to stop. And so you can pull the roasting chamber out and dump the beans yourself. Works great. The other nice thing about this roaster, one of the things that really sets it apart from other roasters, at least home roasters, is on the red temperature readout here. You'll see this when I start the roast. This switches back and forth between the time that you've set for it to reach, or not the time, the temperature that you've set, and also the actual temperature that it's reading inside the roaster, because there are thermocouples in there that will read the temperature inside the roaster and tell you what temperature it is, and so you can actually see exactly what's happening in the roaster as it goes along and make changes accordingly. So that's pretty great. The other thing that this does is when you hit your cool cycle, it doesn't start a timer. It actually will start a timer, but it doesn't stop the roast or stop the cool cycle until it actually reaches 140 degrees whenever that happens. And so you know that your beans are completely cooled by the time it's done, and you're not overcooling and sitting there waiting when you don't need to. It's a pretty great feature of this roaster that you don't find in a lot of other home roasters. So let's check out a roast on this Genie Cafe roaster, and hope you learned something. Okay, so I've got the roasting chamber out here, and the lid is opened, and I'm going to put in 2.5 scoops of beans using this scoop that comes with the roaster. And I'm using a Guatemala Huehue Tenango organic fair trade coffee. There's 1, 2, and a half. You notice this line here, it says dry processed beans. What that means is, if you've got a real chaffy coffee, you're not going to want to fill it past that line. Others, you can, if you've got a coffee that doesn't have a lot of chaff to it, you can actually push the capacity up to 3 full scoops, which gives you a little bit more coffee. If you just play around with it, you'll see when it operates, the way the chaff collection works. If you use too much beans or there's too much chaff, you also choke the roaster a little bit, and it'll get too hot because air's not flowing through, and you'll burn your beans. So stick to 2.5 scoops, and if you've got a coffee that you know is not going to produce a lot of chaff, like a decaf, for example, then you can go ahead and go with 3, and that'll work just fine. All right, so I'm going to place the roasting chamber in the roaster. And by the way, this stand for the roasting chamber comes with the roaster, and you should definitely use it because you don't want to break this. This goes in at kind of a wonky angle, just like that, kind of an angle, because you'll see as it rotates it kind of in a three-dimensional pattern, which is nice for your agitation. This does nothing for you except keep you from I guess jamming your hands down in there and getting them caught. It's a safety thing. So, you know, that's all that is. I'm going to leave it open for this so you can see the beans better. Here's how I like to roast. The first thing I'll do is I'll preheat the roaster to 350 for maybe 5 minutes or so if this is the first roast, but I actually just roasted some on this guy just a few minutes ago, so I'm not going to do that. But I suggest you do, especially in the wintertime. When the roaster is completely cold and preheated a little bit, it'll help you with your roast, especially in terms of, you know, having a good starting place in terms of temperature. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and start my roast at 320. I'll do that for 5 minutes. I'll advance the time up to 30 minutes, just like that. I'm going to let it go at 320 for about 5 minutes until the beans start to yellow a little bit. And get nice and warm, and then I'll bump it up to 460. So here we go. Okay, so a little under 5 minutes have gone by, and the beans are starting to turn a little bit yellow. I don't know if it's going to show up well on the camera or not, but they're lightening. What's happening is the moisture is being cooked out of those beans, and at the same time they are absorbing a lot of heat, which is what we want to happen right now. And I can also smell kind of a wet grass smell coming out of the exhaust on the roaster, which indicates that we're right where we need to be, and it's about time to increase the temperature to really get these beans going towards first crack. So I'm going to turn the temperature up to 460 right there. And one thing about this roaster is it slowly adds temperature. It isn't going to jump straight to 460 degrees from 320 degrees. But you can watch the temperature rise here on the temperature readout. You can see 460 is where I've set it, and 336 or 338 is where the temperature is now as it increases, and you can watch that happen. Right about, well, typically with most beans, and you know, this is going to vary a little bit, but right around 450, you're going to see first crack start to happen. It might be a little bit before that, a little after, but on this roaster, typically in my experience, 450 is about where you can expect that to happen. The thing about this roaster is it's very quiet. I don't know if it's going to come through on the video and the audio or not. It's a very quiet roaster. The downside to that is it's very hard to hear first crack and hear second crack, but that's okay. You can certainly smell it and you can see it happen, which we'll see in just a second. So I'm heading for 460, and let's just watch it roast. Okay, we are right at 453 degrees, and you can expect first crack to happen any second. Notice the beans are a nice brown color, and they are about to pop. What's happening here is they have absorbed as much heat energy as they can, and they're now going to release energy by cracking open. The silver skin around the bean is going to come off as chaff, and you're going to see it start to, the beans will enlarge quite a bit. Yeah, this is definitely first crack. You can hear a couple of those. You probably won't be able to hear it on the video. But if you look, I've got a flashlight here and try to see if I can give you a good view. Back there in the back of the roaster, back there, you can see some vent holes and chaff collecting there with a little wiper that wipes across those vents and pushes the chaff through into the chaff collector at the end of the roaster, that big black thing at the end of the roaster. When you start seeing chaff like that collect, that's probably the best indicator that you are in first crack. The other thing is I can smell, we've gone from like a wet grass smell to what I think of as a roasting coffee smell. It's sweet. sugary, kind of like caramelizing sugar, which is exactly what's happening in the beans. All those sugars in there that have been buried inside that coffee bean are now coming to the surface and caramelizing, which causes that smoke and that smell that's very sweet, sort of a butterscotch roasting smell. Yeah, see, there's that chaff in the back of the roaster. Now, this is why you don't want to overload your Genie Cafe roaster with too many beans or too many very chaffy beans. Because if those holes block up too much, the airflow won't go through and your roast is going to get really hot really fast, which doesn't taste good, number one, but also you'll probably burn your batch, so you don't want to do that. So that's why the dosing of the roaster matters. All right, so now it's just a matter of how dark do you want to roast your beans. I like to level off the temperature at 460. You can go higher than that, all the way up to 475 if you like. I like to let it sit I like to extend the time between first and second crack a little bit. This is a nice medium dark roast. That's what I like to do. I'm gonna let it go just a little bit longer. With the Genie Cafe, you gotta remember that you're gonna coast a little bit after you hit the cool button. So you wanna anticipate how dark you want it to be and hit the cool button before it gets there. Otherwise, you're gonna go a little farther than you like. So here we go with the cool. I'm gonna go ahead and hit it now. So now what's happened is the heater element has turned off and the fan is turned up on high, blowing as much cool air through there as possible. And you'll notice here a timer starts, so you get an idea of how long it's been cooling. But the way the machine knows to stop the cool cycle is the temperature. When it gets down below 140 degrees, that's when it's going to stop. Okay, we've reached 140 degrees. The roaster stopped, and I'm going to pull them out. Just grab this little tab right here with your thumb, grab the handle, lift it right out, set it down. Now you should probably use oven mitts to grab this, but doing it barehanded has never bothered me before. It is pretty hot though. I wouldn't touch the glass. Then you lift the lid, and I like to take my thumb and hold that to keep it from closing on me while I'm pouring the beans out, just like that. There you have it, nice evenly roasted. Maybe a little darker than I wanted it, but that's okay. I was multitasking. Yeah, it's this roaster, the Genie Cafe roasts about as evenly as anything I've seen, especially for home roasting. And they're roasted nice and slow. Most of the people who buy a Genie Cafe mention that there's a little bit better body to it, and I think that's due to the slow roasting. It really is a fantastic roaster and produces really great roasts. I mean, that's about as even as you can get, and I cannot wait to drink this. Okay, everybody, that's your Genie Cafe roaster demo. Cheers.